Hello, everyone. This is Renee Piani. I am known as the Love Designer, and you are here on Get Real About Love. And I love to meet people. I'm a big networking person. And when I meet somebody that's extraordinary, I want you to know who they are. And when I met Verlaine Crawford, I was on a networking thing, and she was talking about a subject that was very close to my heart, because in my business, I work with people that are going through transitions in love. So whether they're in a shakeup, a breakup, they're going through divorce, they end up having shattered parts of themselves, not believing that love exists. So I mentioned this, and then Verlaine said something, and I was like, oh my God, she's a 4-time author. She was a former vice president of a high-tech company that has turned into she's a speaker, and she does healing sessions and all sorts of integration work, which is very similar to mine. And she's written 4 books, and it's just, I just am so enthralled with her. So welcome today, Verlaine. And I am, you've had incidences, we've had these fascinating conversations that I don't even want to hang up when I'm talking with her. So you have to hear the wisdom from Verlaine. So the first, you've had these incidences that activated you. I call it an activation. So could you tell us a little bit about how you went from being, a vice president of a tech company to doing what you're doing now? What you're doing? What would you call it?
Well, what I call it, I guess, pretty much I call myself a spiritual teacher. I'm intuitive and psychic, and that all came about in 1987. And when I opened up, as I say, to other dimensions, which means that I'm able to bring through my guardian angel and be able to bring messages to people that I'm working with, or in a group, I'd be able to answer their questions and also, give my ideas of what's happening. And it's been an amazing journey. And I think, if I could say, if anything that's happened out of all of it, what the most important thing is a continuous feeling of love of life, and which I think is incredibly important, of loving myself, even when I have things that I do wrong or upset with myself, and having peace of mind. And those, I think, will all together to create a harmonious life. And I had so many different instances of examples of things that have happened to me. When I was 12, I got my feet cut up in a lawnmower, and I was laid up for a whole year. When I was 27, I got stabbed in a parking garage, and it just a number of different things that happened that it builds up a feeling of not feeling safe, and you get paranoid, after a while. And especially, I'd say that the stabbing, what it led to was an experience of going to a workshop, which was an NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And you said that you have done that also. And the whole weekend was fascinating of how we gather up words and beliefs. We integrate these beliefs. And the way I see it is, if you can imagine a house, a very large house, with lots of different rooms. And each room is a part of you, a personality, a sub-personality, is in that room, and they have a belief. Let's say they say, like my mom used to say over and over again, which was part of a problem of loving a man, which was, all the good men are married or buried. Okay? So there's a belief, right? And so that belief goes off to their room that they decorate and keep collecting proof. You collect proof. Because you have that belief, that's what you see in the world. And today, with all of these different people saying, well, I am this, I am, I have a different gender, I have a different color, so we put these into different rooms and beliefs, and you keep proving to yourself through your experiences what it is bad about that or upsetting about that. So go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if you had a chance, like in my book, I call it Love Imprints. Now, I did imprints about love. When I was in NLP training, because I just wanted to add to what you were saying, I took training for, gosh, a couple of years. Really went deep in. And what I realized that I had one part of me that only heard men were liars and that I would get hurt. And then the other part of me that was like, I want love and I don't care where I get it. Instead of, I'm going to go for this vision. So then I would meet unavailable men over and over. But then when I was in the NLP, I realized it was me in those rooms, that I had heard and seen. I actually even did a TEDx about it called The Power of Your Love Lineage. So usually you hear it from family when you're little. And then in school, you hear it from students. And then in college, so your experiences follow you like those rooms. So it's just fascinating what you're saying. And when I met you and I was like, God, I feel so like she gets what I'm doing, and you're doing it in one realm and I'm doing it in the love and relationship realm. And it's deep.
I consider that we have 4 cornerstones of life. So we have our health, our wealth, our love, and our self-expression. So if any of those parts of ourselves are falling down, or the cornerstone isn't handled correctly, the building starts to tilt. So I worked in the range of that we have to look at what are the imprints, as you call them, or the beliefs that are related to each one of those. And, in health, oh my God, we have this whole litany of beliefs about health that are all in opposition. So the name of my book was Ending the Battle Within. And as I traveled around the world doing speaking and doing private sessions, I would say the title to someone. It could be someone in the elevator. It could be, a businessman. And I'd say the name of the book, Ending the Battle Within, and they'd go, I need that.
Yeah, because it's the battle between you and you, it's you and you.
Between these beliefs, and they're opposing. And so the key thing that I wish people could understand is, rather than thinking there's a part of me that's trying to hurt me and stop me from being rich, or stop me from losing weight, or stop me from having the love in my life, or stop me from being creative, all of those things, those parts are not trying to hurt you. They have advantages for stopping you. They think they're helping you. They think that many times it comes down to the bottom line, they think they're keeping you safe. And so what I love about the integration technique that I expanded upon is that you bring them together after you've had your conversation, and the part of you that's hiding over there that's saying, you're not going to do it, you're not going to get it, that part never gets to talk. It just plans revenge on the part that keeps pushing. And so you're just constantly doing this. And it's what disturbs people. I know after my divorce, I had a divorce in between my love affair with one person.
Oh, well. Oh, well.
This way, I went that way, right? So the main thing that I had to look at is, what is it that it's doing for me? What is this? And of course, it was to give me freedom in a way that I couldn't have in that relationship. What did it do for me to have John go off to Europe after we lived together 20 years and loved each other? What he did is give me freedom to create a whole new experience, and him freedom to create new experience. Luckily for us, the love never stopped. Once they did, some friend asked John, after we'd been together about 15 years, they said, many of our friends have gotten divorced. Why are you two still together? And he said, we started the conversation and it hasn't ended.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? You showed me a picture earlier of him when you met him. Can you show the audience? Maybe we can go a little, oh, look how who does he look like? It's almost like he looks like a movie star. I'm trying to think, is it John Wayne? He has that full head of hair, he's very handsome.
And a lot of people have said, you're so-and-so, and then he'll just sign something for them.
That's so funny. I know my husband is really handsome too, and we
Yeah.
both have some cool love stories. So maybe we can sequitur into something like that, because I think that people want to believe in love. That is the thing. But when they haven't seen it or experienced it in their childhood or with experiences in college, or I don't know if you've read any of my stories, but I had a real woozy when I was in my early 30s of a man that was just totally lying. So he got to prove to me that what my grandmother said was right. And it literally blocked me for about 3 years. I had the wall, it was like, and I would look over the wall and think, oh, he's cute, and then I think, oh, he's got to go through the gauntlet. I always tell women, you're making a man go through too many gauntlets to get to you. I mean, what does he got to do? What does he have to do? So it's very interesting how people protect their heart. So why don't you give us a little shorter version of your love story so that people can see how it worked for you? So so give us like a timeline. You were a certain age and then you got divorced, and then I can't remember the whole story, but it was awesome. I mean, it was just magic.
All right. I was 22 when I met a man in an elevator who told me about the fact that we create our own reality. And after that, I got to go to Europe. And when I was in Europe, I fell in love with someone. And then that faded away because he wasn't telling the truth either. And so when I was in Rome, I remember distinctly just saying, I know what it felt like to be in love. It just feels so good. I'm going to be in love with life. And that started a whole new energy for me, I think, at that time. When I came back to the United States, I got a message, a psychic message. I heard this voice say, go to the passport agency. And I'm going, why should I go to the passport agency? I have a passport. They said, get a job there. Okay, I'll go get a job at the passport agency. So I didn't even have a car at the time. And I called my mom. I said, you have to take me to the passport agency downtown LA. And she said that it was pouring rain on Monday, the day it was supposed. She said, well, you probably want to wait. And I said, no, I got to go today. I got to go today. And it was like you did this repetition. So I got there and the lady signed me in, and they did need people for summer work. And I got the job. 2 weeks later, I'm there, and I feel this heat on the back of my head. I turn around and there's John. And it was like
Goosebumps.
Yeah, just I felt his energy. And he seemed a bit shy. And so it was maybe a few days later that he was in the cafeteria and I went to talk to him. And
He worked there. He worked there?
He was a passport agent.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
When he was going to college. So he was, I sat at the room, and he had gone to Europe 2 years before. So we started our conversation about Europe, and it was just like, so much fun. And so we started dating, and then eventually we started living together, and we went to Carmel, lived there together, and had just an amazing time. And then we moved up to Silicon Valley area, and we were doing marketing. And somebody offered me a position of vice president of marketing on this high-tech firm. And so that left John out, because before we were doing the business together. And so he decided to go for a trip to Europe, and he went. And when he was there, he met some wonderful people. And there's one particular woman who wanted to do a project in the south of France of building homes. And so he called me up. He told me all about it. Oh, that was the other thing. I asked for an honest man. I have to have forget it about anybody else. I'm tired of all the lying. And so he called me and told me about it, that he had this possibility. And I said, go for it, And in that situation, he met royalty, he met Princess Diana. He had an incredible experience and built beautiful homes that he designed in Provence. And, it was incredible. And in the meantime, because we were honest with each other that he was now with another person, after about 3 years, I met Tom, who was a psychiatrist and also very spiritual. And we eventually got married. And so that kind of broke the spell of me saying I'll never get married kind of thing. And
Yay, but well, how old were you when you first got married?
53.
Wow. Well, I was 45.
Yeah.
So, when I was, I don't know if people watching know, but I got here in 1992. I was guided here by angels. Literally, I would hear they were, you're going to go to Los Angeles. I'm like, why? And I came here and met Reverend Michael Beckwith, who is one of the top metaphysical spiritual teachers in the world. And he had a little teeny church, and I went to all these churches and met all metaphysical people.
Copy?
And agape, I was one of the very first
You
group
experienced
of people. Yes. So my guide, it was interesting because I walked into the building. I had gone to all these places, and I'm like, I got to find a place where I can be me. Because in Delaware, I'm from Wilmington, Delaware. It was very conservative, and I worked in a salon. And when I would touch people, I'd get information, and then I'd tell them. And then people were calling for readings, and I was just like, the manager goes, "What? People aren't calling for haircuts. They're calling for reading. Like, who's the girl that does the haircuts that does readings at the same time?" So I got known as that. And it really was very scary for my mom, because my mom knew it was going on. But there was a woman at that time who unbeknownst to me, was into magic, black magic. And she tried to do things that were it was bad, like the good against evil kind of thing. It was really crazy. I've never said this live, but it was true. But it turned out that she was in love with me, and I was with a man. And as soon as she met the man that I was dating, she got upset, and I didn't know what happened, but I started getting ill. So energetically, that was the point where someone came to the salon and told me that something was happening to me. And I didn't know this woman. It would be like a woman like you walking in and saying, you have somebody that's trying to hurt you. And I got into the whole study. So when I moved to California, the first day I walked into Agape was this beautiful woman. She looked just like an angel. And she's now a minister. And her husband are two of the top NLP teachers in the world, Lizette and Robert McDonald. Do you know them? They teach all of
on the.
She looks like an angel, right? So she goes, she has this white dress on, and she pulls her arms up, and she looks like an angel's like welcoming me. So as it turns out, I was led to wear an angel costume. I did a show about the good deeds and how to get involved in the community because of her. She had a cable show. So I became known as the Angel of Los Angeles by the mayor, because I was visiting people. Even Shirley MacLaine met me and on the movie stars. And I did all these events where handicapped children, and I was blessing children and raising money for different charities and getting people involved with charities in LA to give back, to love, to spread more love. So I got acknowledged by the mayor in 1988, and I was on the front page of the newspaper. Now, people thought I was insane, because that was a time during, what was the woman that wrote the book, McClintock? What was it? It was like where all the spiritual awakening was happening right at that time, same time as you, 1988, right around that time. That was an activation time for people that were spiritual. And I just, I literally was led. I kept saying, send me where you want me to go, show me what you want me to do. And I just did it, And I just did an interview with people. We did a television show for 7 years called the Good News Network, and I was the Good News Network reporter. And so I believe that certain people like yourself, myself, Lizette, different people that I have in my life, we were sent here to support each other, to not have people say, well, those people are crazy, and I don't really care. If I did, I wouldn't be saying any of this. And my mother would say, don't you tell people, So I would say, from my opinion, it's almost like it runs in families. And I don't know if you've done your lineage study, but I did. And it went way, way back to Italy. And it
was my father. He was incredibly psychic. And he was saved, his life was saved about 7 times by the intuition that prevented him from dying. I went and had some time to get to speak with him. Mom and dad had divorced and I hadn't seen him. And it was so wonderful. We had like 4 days of not continuous conversation, and him telling me all the times that he was saved. And I mean, it started with he was 12, but he was up in the haymow in Iowa in the farm and playing with like 20 cats that he had trained. And he wasn't supposed to be there. He might have been only a little bit younger. And anyway, he fell. And right below him were the combines and the spokes and all kinds of stuff. And when he woke up, he was 12 feet away from the combines. He didn't fall straight down.
Oh my God, that is so wild. See, these are the stories that are so fascinating, and things have happened to me. I was in an apartment in Santa Monica, and it was a rainy night, and I was babysitting for a friend's dog, and it rained, and I was very sick during that time, and I kept telling the doctors there's something wrong. I had carbon monoxide blowing into my apartment because the manager of the man that owned the building was so old. He took the cap off where you light the gas in the floor, and it was the apartment had carbon monoxide in it for so long. And this one night, if I had not brought little Chuck back with me, because his daddy was flirting with a bunch of girls and he was getting tangled there was a street fair, and the dog was getting stepped on. And I said, I'm taking Chucky with me. He was like my little granddaughter, my little baby. I called myself his aunt, and I would babysit while his dad went on dates. So he was flirting with a couple women, and I said, I'm taking the dog home because it's going to rain. So I closed all the windows, and then I turned the heat on, and I put Chuck in bed with me. And if he hadn't have been there, I would be dead. So he was then my angel. We did a news report on it that, it was crazy what happened, but I got saved by a dog vomiting on me, So how do you explain these things? How do you explain the things that happen to you, the downloads you get? It's just a gift. And I guess when I asked you what you are, you were like, I don't know what to call myself. You're like a angel messenger, I would say, And the interesting thing is, and this just proves to me that my intuition is right. I'm writing a book called Flirting with Life. I have been teaching flirting with life, my philosophy, since I moved here, because I knew no one. So the only way that I could meet people was to say hello, and I networked, and I literally, like, magic happened. I'd say I want something, and boom. But that's because Reverend Michael was saying, anything you think, anything that you want, you can create, anything. And so I, like you, had people guiding me through these paths in my life. And we even had a woman that worked for us that was psychic, and she used to say, Renee is going to leave. She's not getting married till she's old. And I was like, how old am I going to be? I was like 6. and then, my mom would say, don't tell her those things. And she said, Miss Angie, she's not going to live here. She's going to go heal the world. She's got a big job. And I'm like, what job? What? So even back in the day, so luckily I was not shut down. Like your dad, you had a dad that had that psychic. And
until, I was, 1984 is when I got to meet with him. And already, I was the vice president of marketing. And that came, also in those kind of ways. And it was so amazing. I knew nothing about computers. Okay. And so I'm doing this software program. And the first meeting, I went into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror, and I knew that, they said, we've got a guardian angel. And if that's also, I want you to say, more than intuition, I want people to realize you have a guardian angel. Every person does. And they are there 24/7. No timeout, Of course, they don't have to stand here, although it looks like they stand there. And what Exaka, my guide, says is we stand there twiddling our thumbs until finally you ask for something. And so then you say, I'd really like to have, at least $100,000 in savings. Okay, let's use that as an example. It would be such a nice cushion. So the guardian angel says, oh, good, they asked for something. So they start setting up all the leads, like a treasure hunt, for you to get to the 100,000 or to receive it. So it has to do with, like they set up, you're going to go to the ice cream shop. You may not think about going to the ice cream, but you do. You step in, there's a sign. The sign says there's a meeting. You go to the meeting. And so they set up the whole pattern, right? And then you say, oh, but that's impossible. So the guys have to say, stop everything. They just said it's impossible.
They don't believe. We cannot give them the gift until they believe, you know. That's so amazing. Like you talked about feeling someone behind you. It's the way that I met my husband was at a wedding. I was a designer and I designed the bride, and then I would talk to the bride. Why do you love Steve? And they'd go, well, it's been 7 years. I think I've just got to marry him. I'm like, that's not a good reason to get married, you know? And so particularly how I met my husband, I was in a wedding of his cousin, and I didn't know him at the time. But unbeknownst to me, his mother knew my mother from his sister went to school at the same Catholic school that I did. And actually Jill Biden did, Ursuline Academy in Wilmington, Delaware, all girl Catholic school. And anyway, she got married, and I was in the wedding and did her hair. My dad catered, and Joe was there, and he was with someone, and he shook my hand, and I got like a jolt of lightning, because I was engaged to get married to someone else. And I said to her, I said, I can't believe what I said. I have to tell you this right now, because I just need you to. She goes, what? I said, I'm going to marry him. And she goes, what do you mean? Your wedding is like in 6 months. And I said, no, it's not going to. I said, I'll talk to you about it later. I had just decided to cancel my wedding because my grandmother visited me and told me not to do it. She was scolding me at the end of the bed because I was praying, what should I do, God? What should I do? We're angels, please, you know? And they gave me the message, do not do it. So I did cancel my wedding, but he met my brother the next day and said, I met your sister. I want to meet her. And he goes, she's getting married, because I hadn't told the family. So he never pursued me, but he had an interest. And I never thought, I thought he was taken by the girl that he was with, and he married her and had a son, and then he got divorced, and I was already back. I had moved to California. But the good news is that I was on TV a lot, and he would see me, and then he saw me in the news, and they would always do these news stories about me in Delaware. So he kind of looked me up in between his women, you know. And then the night that I met him, it was so weird. I was going to meet someone else in Delaware. It's a long story. It was my mother's death led me home. So my mom died, and I ended up going back for her funeral, and then my aunt had to get married again, and I kept coming back. So I did a big event, and he saw me in the paper again, and he drove to the shore. But my intuition, I went to the shore to meet another guy, and he was rude to me. And then that night I said to my cousin, there's a place, and it kept saying, go here, go here, go here. And I'm like, why, you know, and I said, we have to go here right now. And she goes, why? And I said, there's somebody at that bar that I need to meet right now. And it was a full moon, and it was packed at the beach in the East Coast. And she goes, we're never going to get in. I said, just pull into the parking lot. I got a front spot, and I walked in the door, and there was my husband, the guy that I set out 20 years later. So anyone, if you get that intuition, like she did, or Verlaine did, or I did, listen to your gut, and don't be scared to follow through on those hunches. Because if I hadn't have gone, and my cousin talked me out of it, and then when she saw us meet, I held his arm again, and I got the same energy thing. And he goes, oh my God, did your brother tell you I asked for you? And I said, no. And then he thought I got married. And I said, I've never been married. And he was going through a divorce. He goes, well, I will never get married again, ever. And I said, well, that's a shame, because I think you're my husband. I told him this the first time I met him. I said, I think you're going to end up marrying me. And he was just like, no way, no way. So we were joking. And then, you know, well, I did use my love powers to, you know, hopefully make that happen. It's been 20 years now. So love can happen at any moment, any time, but most people that are watching this probably have like this and this. So maybe we can talk a little bit about, you used to have it, right? You had the divided parts. I used to have it. And now, once I did that NLP work for 2 years, I realized, oh my God, I've been doing this to myself. So how can a person stop that? I mean, we could talk a little bit about that.
I want to quickly finish my story about re-meeting John, because I had done a divorce. I was with Tom for 7 years, and then we divorced in 2000. John came back in 2002 because his dad got sick and then passed away. And I, of course, loved that family. We had been together 20 years before. And as soon as we met again, it was like no time had passed. And we just started the conversation again. And it was so wonderful, to be back with him. And now it's been 20 years again. I mean,
that is interesting because I met what month? Because I met Joe in 2000 at that time, same day, same time.
Yeah. So let me quickly talk about the integration, as we can give an example, and then if we have a chance to go on doing some talking together, we could get into it further. And I'm also thinking about having my own podcast where I will be explaining a lot more in some workshops.
Definitely should. You have to. I'm going to force you to do it because number one, you're beautiful. Number two, and I could help you if you want. I could get you guests, and I know so many cool people that, and I really have always been a producer. I produced TV. I've written 3 books, and I'm on the same trajectory. I want to spread love. So my new Flirting with Life book is coming out, but it's for love and business, because people in business, I mean, if you want business and you want love, you have to, talk about what you want and be able to say, this is an example. I went to the first internet dating conference that happened back, it's been a long time ago, and I sat in the conference hall in Miami, and I said, I am going to meet the most incredible people who are going to take me to a new level at this conference. And I don't know where, I don't know who. And I just said, and it's done. And I walked in, and there was a man there who has men that go all over the world. And I said, hi, the first person I met, what are you doing here? Because I'm here looking for the top dating coach in the world. And I said, well, I'm standing right in front of you.
Oh my God.
And I said, I've been doing this for blah, 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 I own Rapid Dating. And I started telling him about myself. And I said, but you're going to meet all my competition in this place. So when you're done with them, just come back and talk to me. And he did. And we closed the deal right at the conference. And then I won the very first top dating coach award in the world back in, I forget how many, it's been probably about 6 years. So speaking your word is like the way to go, and not being afraid to be, it wasn't cocky. I was just joking around with him, but I meant it. I said, I've been doing, this is my life. This is my ministry. I do this it's my mission. It isn't just a job. And yours, you got led into your mission, and 4 books later, I mean, my God, as ending the battle within, the game of life and how to play it, our philosophies are the same.
Yeah.
So tell the rest. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. Wait, it's a little blurry. It's a little blurry. Back up a little bit because I can't see it. Nope, can't see it. Nope. But no, you got to pull it back toward you because it's so close to the screen. There it is. Emotional healing, experience balance, self-empowerment, and the age of rapid change. Wow. That's beautiful. I will put this in the notes so you can pick this up. They can get it anywhere, or is it published?
Amazon.
Yeah. Way to go, Amazon.
Yeah, I wrote that last year, and one of the reviews I liked very much. She said she got it. It has a lot of visualizations and meditations and information in there. One thing about love that is very interesting to me, I was reading last night, the idea about emotions is when you have an emotional outburst, let's say you get angry, you don't say, I wish I could have gotten angrier. If you're upset, I wish I hadn't got more upset. All these things with these emotions. But when it comes to love, we act like it's some kind of foreign thing that we don't know much about. And it's really tapping into that energy of your heart and of loving yourself. And how do you love yourself? Well, you have to look at okay, within yourself, like we're saying about these different events. So I'm going to quickly do this idea of the integration the way I do it. And it may be exactly the way you do it. I don't know. But let's say that you really would like a long-term loving relationship. Okay. And then you could say with yourself, right? But let's just say first with another person. So you say to yourself, okay, there's a part of me that would really love that, and so you start, and I write it down if I'm by myself, you write down, what are the reasons that you'd like love in your life? Okay. Yeah, well, I love that feeling. I love hugging. I love having sex. I love sharing things with someone that has like-minded and wants to, and wants to support me in everything that I do, and I support them. I really love that whole idea. Great. Okay, so now we have another part of you. I say choose two hands usually in the beginning, the one that wants it and the other one. And then it doesn't matter which hand, you just choose. And so the left hand here, in my case, is saying, what is the advantages of not having a long-term loving relationship? Well, I get to go out with different people. I get to have independence. I don't have to tell someone where I'm going, what I'm doing. I get to have a sense of freedom, So those are all great things, right? They're good stuff. Yeah, right. Okay. So what if you would have both? What if it wasn't either or? Okay. So let's say that you ask that part of you would you be willing to change your behavior if you could have all the things you want, and let this person have a long-term loving relationship? Maybe. Okay. So I send that part to the creative part of your being to come up with 3 ways in which that can happen. And you don't have to know what those 3 ways are. Okay. And so you send it there, and I say, it looks like a room. It's got computers, it's got angels, and they have the information of the universe of how to make that happen. So what you're asking for is to have the wonderful love, the support, the caring, and the consistency of a loving relationship. And on the other side, you're also having freedom. You don't have to tell them where you are, but you probably want to. And you don't have to go out with other people and make love with them, unless you really, really want to, but you might not want to, and probably won't feel like something you need to do. Okay, so these are things that you look at and you say, yeah, well, maybe I don't want to, I don't know. But of course, there are open marriages and there are open relationships. Maybe yours will be that, I don't know. But the key thing is you can have a balance, right? And so then you've got to close your eyes and see the 2 parts of you. The one that just really, really loved that idea of being in love and cared about. And the other part that says, well, I just want to be free. And slowly bring them together until they're touching. And then intertwine your fingers and see them hugging each other, and bring them up to your heart. And see all parts of you forming a huddle around these 2, sending love and healing to the 2 in the center. And your higher self, the greater aspect of who you truly are, sending love and healing down to the 2 in the center and to all parts of your being. And see the 2 walking hand in hand over a beautiful green hillside, sitting down on a grassy knoll and with a blanket. And you're going to share ideas with each other about how you can work together to have real love in your life and to love yourself. And we ask that this happen for all parts of your being as a win-win situation. And we ask all parts of you, if there's any part that wants to talk to us, that wants to share, that it has been off in its corner by itself, to please come forward during the time ahead and help us integrate. Thank you.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I did do that work on myself, and it is, sometimes there's blocks to doing that, and sometimes those need, so it's like a process, but it is so powerful. and even the gentleman that taught me in that weekend, or what, 2 weeks, or it was a long time. I'd studied all different groups, and it just changed everything. And I always tell them, I said, it changed everything.
Yeah.
And it's just such a beautiful thing that I could even feel it, you know. I have a different way that I do it. I actually use a symbol for each part so that they can see something and relate to something. And then if they can, you know, like I am a big heart. I have a lot of hearts. People give me hearts. And when you get my book, when you see me and I sign it, I give you the vows, and it's thick, and you can put it in the book so that you can see where you are in the process of looking at your own heart. Because this is all about you. My book's all about you looking at your own heart and being, are you kind? If you're not treating your own heart well, how do you expect somebody else to, right? So we are, even though we never discussed this before, we're really on the same wavelength of, and I'm excited to, one of the things that I'm going to do is have another interview with you so that I can read your book and really feel your soul in the book, and then do a review of your book from my perspective, because it, you know, it may be something that I'll refer, you know, I would refer anybody to read. I can't, I mean, I have it, but I just have been busy helping people heal their hearts. That's what I do all day. When people go, well, what do you do? I say I'm a love reinvention expert, to reinvent the plan, to get them physically feeling great, and to practice connecting by being that loving, flirting with life, instead of it being like a pickup. It's just like being a connector. And that's what we did. We were flirting with each other on this group. And I was like, I want to talk to you. Like, I didn't want to leave without like letting her know really, like, I wanted to meet her again. I was like picking her up on a networking event. Right? It's like,
Yes, me too.
hey, please call me today, you know. And I don't never do that. It's not normal that I do that. But when you know, it's even like people don't realize that when you are a certain type of energy, you do attract who you are. And it goes for love too. And my husband, I always, I was, you know, people always said, you're always so busy doing things for other people, you know, the angel work. And then, you know, I met every celebrity. I got flown to Washington for a peace march. I was on the bus with David Glover, what's his name? Geraldo Rivera and I were on the bus together. I met Madonna. I was with Kurt Russell. And, you know, they all know me as Angel. Hey, Angel, what's up? You know, so I got known, you know, in LA to be this angel. And then, of course, they have angels all over the city now. So
Yeah.
I kind of was like a first person to like take a risk of doing something completely crazy, but I actually didn't care. I didn't care because I felt that little children, okay, the little children that I would meet at UCLA that were handicapped, they would bus children in and give them a Christmas party. I did that event for 17 years, and I was the person that greeted them. And they would, every year they would go, there she is, and they would run. And then I'd sprinkle them with magic. And then the mothers would go, I could use a little magic in her right now. So I was sprinkling the mothers with magic, and the president of the company, you know, all these UCLA doctors. And I still have my costumes. I used to get, people would call me and donate costumes to me because my costumes were getting beat up. You know, I was out all over the place, kids jumping on me. But kids believe in angels, you know. So if your children, I just want to say this, if your children see them like I did, my mom used to say they're there to help you and protect you. I got lucky, but not all parents do that. So you could probably speak to that as well.
Exactly. And I felt the same way. You have such beautiful energy. I mean, it's so great. And to hear more about your history is fabulous. And, you know, when I went to Japan and Hong Kong and Australia and was able to teach, it was that same feeling. Every time I'd go back, they just act like little children, you know, and she's come and she's come. And yeah.
They want me to come to Italy. I have a client that had gotten heartbroken in Italy, and I did like a 12-week process of him reading my book and him realizing why he keeps meeting people that are unavailable. And it was just this incredible journey. And he just opened up. And then the women in Italy, he's a big movie star, all want me to come to Italy, you know, and I'm like, I'm ready to go to Italy. Now I can go. Like, I have all these opportunities, but with COVID, it's like a little scary, you know. But that'll be one of my next things, is going there and speaking about this, because It's all your wiring. So God bless you to have the wiring you did from your father. And I had it from my mother and my grandmothers, but they would warn me not, don't you tell anybody this because you will be, they put you away, in the hospital, my great grandmother. So she was one, and you'll read about it in the book. You'll read about it in the book. And so anyone out there, if you really want to get connected to your heart, Ending the Battle Within would definitely be the book. I can't wait to really dig deep into it. And then you have other books. What are your other books to name them first?
Daughter of God, which is Angelic Messengers of Wisdom and Love. And that came from, I was living up in Idlewild on the mountain, and that's where I wrote my books. And I took a walk way up into the mountain and through this alleyway of boulders that remind me of temples in Egypt, right? And the energy was so incredible that I had to sit down, before I could even go through this. Someday it'd be fun for us to go. It's just amazing.
Oh, I love Idlewild, and I have a friend there that's very spiritual that you would love. And her name is Carmel McGuire. I don't know if you've heard of her, but her and her husband spoke around the world, and she now has cancer. And I went for her 85th birthday and did an interview with her about her work, and she's just an amazing motivational speaker. It's Carmel McGuire, but now she has her new name because she's with someone else. And they're both this spiritual couple. And she goes, I was 83 when I met him. It's possible to meet love at any time, anywhere. I mean, this woman has always been one of those people. And when I met her, we were introduced because she looks like my mother. And when I met her, she goes, I will be your she calls herself Mama Carm. So she goes, it's Mama Carm checking up on you. When are you going to come up and see me? So maybe we should take a trip up to meet her and go up into that space.
Did you ever hear of the window? That's the window. So I get through there. Here's these stones stacked, 2 pillars and a big block of stone across. And you go through the window, and there's a little ledge that's been caught by rain. And you're looking at the tops of the pine trees, and there's huge mountain peaks that are around it. It's like a cathedral. And so I sat on the bench and leaned back, and I closed my eyes, and then I felt heat on my face. But I was in the shade, and so I looked, and it was just like this, so much light. And it was this angelic being saying that she would help me write my book, Daughter of God. And so that is the angelic messages. And one of my friends says that, it's right by her computer all the time. She just loves reading the poetry that's in there. And so the third book was The Heart of Transformation. And that has a lot about how we start to transform into a more spiritual being. And this is a time when that is more and more happening, that the energy is vibrating at a faster beat. And so as that gets higher and higher, that energy of our soul can more and more identify within us, which is a very exciting thing for people to realize, that if you get in harmony with your body can stay so much healthier and longer living than you would otherwise. In my case, I can't even believe it, but I'm 78, and I don't feel over 35. I don't feel like anything's changed, and what's wrong with that? Nothing. A part of you goes, well, that's not fair. You should be, aging. Your skin should be, no, it's all right.
And I always say I'm forever 29, because people go, do you ever age? Like the people that I did Good News Network are like, did you get a facelift or something? And I said, no, it's just energy, and I always say I'm getting younger every day, and it's just the way you think. It's all about the way you think. But in our society, the pressure to be thin, and finally it's all burst open, all sizes, all shapes, it doesn't matter. It's just so exciting. And also during COVID, deeper love has been my big message, like you. It's like we all have to face our families. I don't think people even realize, even the couple that I met, I did an interview with the other day or last week, they said we never have been alone without our kids. Like we're like, he was always a movie producer over here, and she was over here. And now they were living together this last 2 years, and now it's a whole new transformation in their love, with the kids and their life work, everything shifted, and it's deeper even than it was before.
Beautiful.
So
it really is about taking time to know each other at a deeper level, and not just what do you own and what do you do, but how do you feel and what do you like about yourself? What do you want to fix about yourself? All these things that when you're dating, people don't usually do. They don't get into that feeling place.
Well, that's why I have my book, is to help people to get real. Because if you don't get real about what your vision is, like I said to him, when I met him, I like to do good deeds for other people, and I want to marry a philanthropic man. Unbeknownst to me, he was leading the feeding for the Salvation Army for 18 years. So our first Christmas, my father had a heart attack. He helped carry and take care of my father, who couldn't move because he was obese. And then on Christmas Day, he goes, will you come with me to feed the homeless? And I said, yes, I would. And I saw him leading 50 people carrying boxes in the rain to feed the homeless. And I thought, oh my God, this is the man. This is the man I've been waiting. I cried that night. And I said, Dad, thank God you didn't die. I said, you can't die until you let me marry him, because I was the only one of his chickens. He used to call 6 of us, my 6 little chickens, that hadn't had my big wedding. I said, and then after you give me away, you can die if you want, but I don't want you to. But because he's like, this is it, I'm dying. And I said, well, I just met my husband, now you're going to die. What are you? And I gave him an Italian guilt trip. I said, I'm going to give you a guilt trip now. And I said, can you just like maybe walk me up the aisle, we'll give you a cane, and then if you want to go, but you have 9 grandchildren and all these kids, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere, Daddy. And he lived another 10 years.
Right.
And he got to come to California, and we helped him lose 40 pounds, and he got a whole new life and got rid of some of the, some of the things that were holding him back, the integration between this and this. And we did a lot of work. It was so powerful, but people don't heal sometimes from their family stuff. And it's very important for all of us to do that. And I think we're going to have Verlaine come back and talk about that on another show, because we will be talking forever and we won't be able to fit it all. So
I'm so happy. And also, thank you so much for the encouragement. It's just wonderful, because I had to think about it, I could be writing for other people, and then no, what does that make sense? And I realized that when I followed this path of being a spiritual teacher and sharing the information that I have, everything went well. And why go against that? That's ridiculous. And thank you for that. And thank you for this wonderful interview. And hearing
this will be the beginning of you doing it. It is a little long, but I don't really care. I just feel that this is important to put out. And I think that it would be fun, possibly even to do a shorter one, but I don't care. I just think that this is important to talk about, and it inspires other people to believe in their intuition and their soul voices. And I even get messages, I am the same, people call me and I read cards and I get downloads, and it's just like you, sometimes in the middle of the night, I don't know if this happens to you, but I'll be working with somebody that's going through something, and I just get messages for them in the middle of the night, and I write them all down and I call them. I'm like, well, last night at 3:30, I was up and I wrote this to you. And they're like, what? And I'm like, and they're like, how did you know that? And I go, I can't tell you how I know, I just know. And they're like, this is spot on for, something. And it does, I think that you were part of the pack of us that were in the time where we really couldn't get the message out like we can now. And who cares? I mean, if you go onto Clubhouse, there are people doing readings and healings and all sorts of stuff. And I just like it to come naturally to me. The people that need me, the people that need you, they feel you because they see you, they hear you, and then they can read you. And, of all the things that you've written about, and they feel that you'll be the one to help unwind whatever it is,
Yeah, each person that we connect with who is teaching or helping or sharing gives us a different a different part of us picks up another bit of information. I also want to say that John is amazing in all of this too, and because he's incredibly intuitive, and he's written the book Portals in Time, The Quest for Unold Age, and it's a fantastic novel. I edited and worked with him on it. He had been writing it in little pieces and sending me emails for a long time, and we put it together. It took a year to really bring it back together. It is, to me, it's one of the best, and I think if you read it, you'd see it should be an animated film. I mean, it's just, and he's not a poet, but all these poems came through that I hear as music. It could be a musical, and it's just fabulous. And then he's also written, from taking excerpts from that book and poetry, The Alchemy of the Seven, because in the book, what keeps us young are the seven harmonies. And the last harmony is forgiveness. And of course, it's humor and many things. And we looked it up. There is nothing about personal harmony within us. There's harmony between people, is written about by the Chinese Confucius. He talks about harmony, but not our own personal harmony within ourselves. So it's a great book. And so sometime, what I want him to do is write all the times experiences that he had in Europe of being saved and the people he met and how all these things took place. When we went to Europe in 2014, after he sold the business he inherited from his father, we went on the journey his way, which is you don't know where you're going and you don't know what you're doing. And it was magical, just magical. And 5 weeks of incredible experiences. So yeah, I would really love for you to meet him as well.
I would love to. Well, we don't live far away. It's not like we live far from each other. And it just is, it was a connection that, maybe this is, even if this video is the first, it's to inspire you to do more, and I've always been, it's just like Lizette said to me, Angel, you should have your own show. And I'm like, okay. And I just started it the next week, So there's nothing like starting something. You got to be like Michael Jackson. I asked Alexa to play that song earlier, and she's like, she didn't know what it was. You got to be starting something, just do it and you get the downloads. And that's what's happening to me. I believe that, COVID happened, and, I think that it's helping people to get in touch with the things that they really wanted to do rather than what they were forced to do. Right. And so there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of different things that they would have never done if they hadn't had this stop, this delay in their lives. And many people just got irritated about it. And I think that for me personally, when I get slowed down, I've been getting vertigo. When I get vertigo, that means that I'm getting downloads again. Like I'm in bed and I'm writing and writing and writing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm dizzy, but I'm getting messages. So, I have to look at, anybody out there, if you get these things that happen to you, use them as an opportunity. Like, what are you trying to say? What are we supposed to be doing?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
I have questions. I did start looking through your book. You have so many great questions in there for people to ask themselves, which I thought was very fascinating.
Good. Yes. And I wanted to say one thing, because you mentioned, wasn't it scary for yourself when you first opened up? And I was told there is no one in body or out of body that's stronger than you. No one. Okay. So you have your angels that protect you, but also your own strength of character and your energy. There's nobody going to invade you. I did one time bring through some energy that seemed very destructive. And it was, I was helping a lady that was in, not in Dubai, but another island state. And these priests came to the room and were checking me out because I had gone to their estate, and so that was not comfortable, but because I'm dealing with the light and the energy of the light, they were gone, So don't worry about that. If you start opening up and you start getting messages and you start feeling intuitive, Even if you see what you think is energy in your room, don't get afraid. Just ask, are you of the light? If not, you have to leave.
I've been visited by many. I mean, I used in Delaware, there's a lot of old places because that's where the first place that people came when they came to America, was Delaware. And there was a lot of old houses, and my dad worked in a building that was haunted. And I used to walk in there and just feel all the rooms. I'd be like, it's up there, it's over there. And, so my mom's like, you can't tell people you can see the other side. I get messages from, with clients who have parents that have passed and they'll be in the room, so it's something that I haven't really ever announced. It's just sort of happens. And so you may be even the person to activate me to do even more of what I know how to do. So, we're here to activate and strengthen people, and we need strengthening as well, because when you work with so many people, I work with a lot of brokenhearted people. And every night I have to clear off my energy at the end of the day. And if I don't do it, I sometimes sleep with that, I'm sleeping with other people at night, because I'm thinking about it and I'm trying to come up with a formula or something that would work with where they are at whatever level spiritually they are. And usually it cracks them open. And it's really been beautiful. I'm sure you do the same. I've been told that I'm an activator, and I am an activator. I activate people to do things that they're afraid to do. And, so maybe that's part of my job with you as a soul sister to hear, you need to be on the air. You need to be on the air, period.
Okay.
That's what I'm telling you. So with all of this love, we are going to sign off here with this beautiful woman. You have got to pick up her book. It's amazing. I have not read all of it, but it's just because I've been busy doing things, but I am going to take time about the battle within, and you can be forever young. And and here you said something that it's just was so interesting about being in love with life, and mine is flirting with life, so we're right on the same plane here, and I'm very blessed that I got to.
I'm going to update Ending the Battle Within and do that right away, because it's not in digital form. It's only in a paperback, and it's been a long time since that was written. But emotional healing that has some of that information is available now. So that's
the other thing that I thought of when I was thinking of you earlier was you need to do an audiobook. You could do an audiobook. And I do have a guy that does it, and he has a studio, but you need to do it, or you could do it at home if you have a quiet place and a really great recorder, a professional recorder. You could do your radio shows from home and do your audiobook, because I have an audiobook and people say, God, I feel like I know you because it's my voice. But even at that time, I was having trouble with my voice because I talk all day. So I'm really, I'm doing more internal stuff so that I can maintain my energy to continue, to do what I do, and also all the other fun things that I'm doing.
Sure, and
just
do some healing here with your hands.
I do every day. I'm stripping, and I'd love to I'm going to probably hang up and ask you a couple of questions about that as well. But God bless you. Your love story is fantastic. And anyone, you have to look this woman up and call her to see if you can get your parts integrated. If you don't call her, you can call me. We're both doing similar things. I do it for love, and I'm sure you do it for a lot of other things. And it is one of the most powerful processes, I believe, that has changed many of my clients, and apparently yours, all over the world. So bless yourself. Then my message for all people for Valentine's Day is find people that have extraordinary love and use that as role models. And she is a role model of a woman who had love a couple of times and then went back to her original love. So it's interesting, and this is downloading in me. Many people in our age range, the 50s, 60s, they end up meeting people that they knew that they were young when they were young, because they go through cycles, right? So I always tell people, they go, who is going to want somebody at my age? I said, somebody that met you in high school, somebody that knew you back in the day when you were with your first man or woman, and they always thought, God, I was in love with him in high school or college, or you worked with them. If there's somebody that comes to your mind, my call to action for you would be call them up and see, because who would have ever thought that Joe would be single at 40, whatever he was, 42 years old. And here I was still single, and it took us 3 years to get married. But I always knew that it would be somebody special. And I always used to tell God, I have a big job to do, and he has to be supportive of me, just like you did with your husband. And you design the vision for your love. And that's what you did. And look what happened, So God bless you for sharing your wisdom. And you're going to see her on my airways again. So God bless you. Thank you, Verlaine. And I'm going to put all of the books, the names in on YouTube. And when this comes out, it'll have information about her books and where you can get it. And you'll be hearing from this beautiful woman again. And so I hope that, I know that we're going to become lifelong friends. So this is how magic happens. If you get a feeling about somebody, call them. If you really connect, whether it's man, woman, friendship, you have to speak up, because that's the only way that it's going to happen. And people say to me all the time, I've always really liked this guy, but I never said anything. I said, what are you waiting for? So Verlaine, I'm telling you, I love you. I think you're amazing. And
I love you too.
We've been saying we love each other since we met. So magic happens if you believe. And I know that you are magical. So thank you for this time, and God bless you. And I'm going to end this recording now, and it will be put out probably over the Valentine's weekend or very, very soon thereafter. So